Good morning, everybody. Buenos días todos y bienvenidos. I am Maxine Molyneux. I'm the director of the Institute for the Study of the Americas, and it's an enormous pleasure to welcome you here today to hear a very exciting range of contributions from our invitees. This event has been organised, as you know, as part of the Bloomsbury Festival, and it is the contribution of the School of Advanced Studies, but in particular two institutes, my own, the Institute for the Study of the Americas, and the Institute of Musical Studies. The director, John Evans, is here. So you have two of us here to talk to after the event, if you can or want to find out more about what we do here. The purpose of the School of Advanced Study is to promote research, essentially, but we also have an important commitment to have outreach to our communities of interest, people who are interested in music, in this case, Latin America, the Caribbean, and North America is the reach of my institute, but today I'm focusing particularly on the largest part of the program, which is the Latin American program. We have a very, very large program of study and research and a very big MA program, PhD program here for the study of Latin America and Caribbean. So if anybody's interested in that part of it, then please come and see me afterwards. But this morning is about fun, and it's about learning about the history of tango, and even practicing it. You'll all be invited to join in once we have finished the sort of the procedure, as it were, that we're going to be going through. So it's my particular pleasure to say that the person around whom this event has been organised is a very distinguished historian and practitioner of tango, Ignaco Varchausky, who's also very innovative and works within the kind of practice and development of tango. And he's going to be talking to us as our first speaker. We'll then be having a group of musicians who will be able to show you how the tango is done in musical terms. And we will be able to introduce to you Ivana Randia and Tara Pildro, who are going to be doing some dancing for us. But we'll be, before that, we'll be hearing the two musicians, Julian Rowlands, who will be on the bandoneon, and Javier Fioramonti, who will be on the guitar. So you have a very rich program ahead of you, and I hope very much that you enjoy it. So I'm going to now hand over to Ignacio, who's going to lead us off. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. It's an honor to be here. Really great to see all these people interested in tango history, especially on a Sunday morning. What are you doing? Okay. When I was invited to participate in this festival, I was asked to talk about the tango's social history. I'm mainly a musician. I'm a double bass player. I've been playing tango music for many years now. And on top of that, I've been spending a lot of time doing research and educating new generations with a great project down there in Buenos Aires called Orquesta Escuela de Tango Emilio Alcázar, which means Tango School Orchestra, named after the great director Emilio Alcázar. Nowadays, we're also working really hard on trying to preserve all tango recordings that were made with the Tango Digital Archive. The creation of this new project will lead us into better knowledge about this amazing genre. So, as you can see, I spend half my time playing this music, studying it, trying to understand it, and the other half researching and getting closer to its history, trying to understand what makes it tick, and what was the history behind it. I feel like any musician is playing the popular music of this country has to do that research, and it's his responsibility to, in many ways, be an ambassador of his country. So it really means a lot to me and the people that work with me that we have this space to talk about it. Normally, when we talk about tango history, and especially tango social history, we read in all these books and in the internet and all around a very maybe naive version on how tango was a spontaneous creation of a mix of cultures, due to huge immigration in Buenos Aires in the late 19th century, beginning of the 20th century. What I mean by naive, I mean that it's mostly portrayed as a very fun time for everyone there, you know, everyone living together, families from different countries, you know, living in one room. It sounds like fun, but it really wasn't fun at all. So it would be interesting for me to share some pieces of information and my point of view about this, because to talk about Argentina's history is in many ways the same as the tango history, especially modern times, late 19th century and beginning of the 20th century. You know, to understand the beginning of tango, the creation of tango music, it's very important to know that in the late 1800s, there was a political movement in Argentina called the 80s generation, la generación del 80. Of course, they were around that time, and they were led by a general called Julio Argentino Roca. These people that had a huge team of intellectuals and doctors and a lot of people actually educated in Europe. They dreamed of an Argentina that was in many ways a European country in the south. So after many years of occupying the lands and killing, you know, all the natives little by little, they decided that it was a great idea to start bringing immigrants from Europe to start populating the country and in a way turn it into American little Europe down there. So they started huge campaigns, subsidizing trips, doing a lot of propaganda. We were talking in the late 1800s and beginning of the 1900s, of course. And they started to bring some very poor European people, mostly from Italy, Spain, some in France and Poland, Russians, with the promise that they will have land to work and begin a better new life down there in the Americas. Interesting enough, the model they proposed was very different than the one was held in the United States. Because, as you probably know, in the United States, the immigrants were allowed to own some land. So that was a real opportunity for them to develop economically and to develop, keep rising the social scale little by little. But in Argentina, it was very tricky. It was really tricky because they didn't really give those lands to the poor immigrants, but they just offered them some jobs around the land. Okay. So what happened after that is that most people that fell, fooled by those campaigns ended up moving from the countryside back to the urban centers, right? Urban centers, especially around Buenos Aires, of course, capital city, and other ones as Rosario and so on. This is very interesting because in that moment there is a huge mix of people getting around Buenos Aires. Not only the immigrants that felt that they were being fooled and they needed to be closer to the city in order to get some jobs, but also, all the gauchos, the outlaws that less than 100 years before that were living pretty much freely in the Argentinian pampas. Since the oligarchy was taking over all the lands, they had to move as well. So you can see that when you see all those very old census, it's really interesting that in the late 1800s, about 40% of the population in Buenos Aires was foreign. By 1914, over 60% of the people in Buenos Aires were foreigners, which is really interesting. Most of these families were really poor, as we said, so in order to accommodate themselves somewhere, they started to live in these very old houses in the south of the city, most of them, that we call conventillos. These conventillos are very old houses that had been, at that point, empty for many years after the how do you say, the pest, the huge illness around the city in the 1800s. So they basically live in one big house, one family per room. Okay, those were the competitions. So you will find a whole Russian family of 5 or 6 in one room, and a Spanish whole family in the next room, and a Polish one, and an Italian one, and so on. So when they met there, they had to create a way to communicate, they had to create a way to understand each other, and out of that huge mix of cultures, is that we can say that what we know today as tango music also started to be created. So I think it's always interesting and important to remember that it wasn't a very joyful moment or process for all the people creating the tango, but it wasn't actually really hard, and they were struggling very much. But then, as I can say, it's also the moment in which kind of a new language is created. Not really a language, but a whole new repertoire of voices, a whole new repertoire of words that comes out of the mixing between languages, and that's what we call lunfardo, you know, our slang in Buenos Aires especially, but all around the country, mainly Buenos Aires, of course. We have what we call lunfardo, which is, you know, all these different words that are used in a way in opposition to the main language, the Castellano, the Spanish from Castilla, which is what Argentinians speak. So out of that huge mix of cultures is what we where we started to get what we know as tango music today. I'd like to show you just to illustrate a little bit what they call tango. A little fragment of a recording from 1914, because the music back then that they called tango had little to do with the music we call tango today. In the beginning, you know, there was very simple rhythms that came from other rhythms like habanera, mazurka, polka, even Andalus tango and stuff like that. One can say, we talk about tango, that we have, you know, mainly the dance, the music, and the lyrics. Most historians agree that the dance came first, you know, incorporating the embrace and the couple dance from the mazurka and other rhythms, and also incorporating the name tango, that it's the name that was given to the places in which black people in Buenos Aires used to meet in their cooperatives and holding parties and so. So I'd like to show you this very old recording from 1914, I believe, by the Juan Mario Pacho Quartet. As you will be able to appreciate, the rhythm of this piece is steady, and it's always an habanera. You know, an habanera has this groove, pam, 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 in opposition to the more modern tango that uses, you know, playing each one of the 4 beats of each measure, meaning pam, 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 which is closer to a march in a way, if you want. So I'm going to show you just a little tiny bit of this 1914 recording by Juan Mario Pacho. Playing the rhythm. There's a bandoneon, a flute, and a violin. As you can appreciate, it's very simple music with a very steady groove. You can probably hear, you know, the mix of the bandoneon with the flute and the violin is very, it gives a very specific sound, and that leads us into the instrument, the bandoneon. You know, this is the most iconic instrument in the tango music, and it's always fun to remember that this is actually not an Argentinian instrument, but it is a German instrument that was designed in the late 1800s to play sacred music, like church music, in a portable way, so you can walk with it. Funny enough, it ended up in the Buenos Aires brothels, writing a new complete history, of the new history, and its technique and the instrument itself actually developed because of the tango musicians and not because of the original purpose. If you want to know who brought it to Argentina, you'll never find out. You don't know. There are so many different, stories and hypotheses about that we'll never know, which I think is fun. We don't need to know everything. One of the versions says it was a British sailor that brought it. No, not really. Okay. So now that we know a little bit about the bandoneon, and let me tell you that it's a very difficult instrument to play because both hands work in a very different fashion. The notes are not ordered as in a piano or in a guitar, in which you have, a very logical way of, a very logical layout. The bandoneon is all crazy, and the notes are not like C, D, E, F, G, one beside the other. It's like a crazy map, and both hands have different maps. And when you open each hand, it sounds completely different than when you close it. So only crazy people have played this instrument, And funny as it sounds, it is a crazy instrument. But we are very, very lucky to have today a bandoneon and a guitar to start enjoying this music. So we're going to give a great welcome. ¿Qué van a tocar? El Marne. Vamos al dúo. Please welcome. We're going to play a great old tango from the early 1900s by Eduardo Arolas called El Marne, after the river, of course. Come on. And this is very cool because even back then, in the very beginning of tango music, 1904, 1906, something like that, dated this composition, even when the music wasn't as developed from the player point of view, compositions were really well developed, and it was beautiful music already. Okay, let's enjoy it.
dancers, and that's Ivan and Sara from NEGRACHA Tango Club, and they're going to dance Choclo.
When we are talking about the beginning of the 20th century, with the pieces like this, to the just play, the Marne or the Choclo, also from the beginning of the 1900s, tango was mostly played in those products we talked earlier. You can understand that most of these immigrants were young men. So in a few years, the amount of people and the amount of young men alone in Buenos Aires grew up in a dramatic way. So that led into also a huge explosion with hundreds of brothels around the city, and that served in many ways as the context in which tango started to develop. First, as a dance, if you want, with some musicians, and little by little, also the music started to develop in the cafes and bars and so on. A few years later, that will be actually, the main place, the bars and the cafes where tango was played. To continue talking about this, since this talk is named Tango and Identity, you know, we, some of us really truly believe that tango is the biggest mirror we have as Argentinians to understand our identity. Because out of that huge immigration in the 1800s, late 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, you know, and that huge mix of cultures, the Argentina we know now was born. There's a reason why sometimes we don't like, you know, to pay so much attention to music, to tangos Argentinos, because I guess in many ways tango reminds us of that conflicted past and all the sad history behind it. There's a famous book you probably know it, the Martian Chronicles by Bradbury. There's one of the tales there that is really interesting, and I like to always make a comparison to Argentinian history and this important period in our history, the beginning of the 20th century. One of the stories in that book is you know, the picnic in which the father takes all the family to Mars, and you know, at some point he decides it's the right moment to tell the whole family that it's not really a picnic, that they're moving to Mars. And he says, you know, well, you have to know, you know, that old model didn't work. The Earth is going to destroy itself, and so we're here to live. We are alone. Maybe some more other people from the Earth will come, but I have to tell you the truth. So it's time for you to meet the Martians. And they are, well, but if we are alone, what do you mean by meeting the Martians? So he takes the whole family to a river and makes them look into the river where they can see their own reflection. And he says, well, there they are. Those are the Martians. And in many ways, that's who Argentinians are. Not Martians, but you know, like a new, in the 20th century, like a new citizenship mixed, you know, with tons of Europeans and some of the Creole people from the past. I'd like to talk a little bit also about the development of the music. First, we said this was a music they produced and little cafes. You know, most of the first groups of tango only had a violin, a guitar, sometimes a flute. Then, a few years later, in the early 1900s, the bandoneon was incorporated. And a few years later, the piano was added as well. Not as a soloist instrument, but as a part of the tango orchestra, the tango combo. And I think that's very interesting because you can picture, you know, Buenos Aires in the 1900s, probably there weren't so many pianos around. So the incorporation of the piano as an instrument in the tango group also tells us of tango as a, how do you say, tango racing in the social scale, you know, like being played not only the brothers anymore, but by people who can own a piano. You know, most of the publishers started to publish their tangos for pianos as well. So that's really interesting because, as you probably know, or I can say right now, you know, in the beginning, tango was downlooked, even forbidden in many ways. So in the mid-1910s, the piano is already part of the group, and I'd like to show you a little recording, a little bit of a recording from 1920, in where you'll hear the violin, the bandoneon, but also the piano already. And they are not playing with the habanera groove anymore, but they're playing the 4 beats of each measure, which turn out to be like the basic groove of tango music. This is a recording from 1920, Orquesta Típica Select. Check it out. revolution. Just a few years after that first one that we heard, that there are people who can really play their instruments here. Like the violin is a very good violin player. There's even a cello. So that shows us that in the 20s already people with some more classical training or more formal training was getting into tango music again, because they were rising in the social scale. Yes, and also because now some of those immigrants have more resources to study music or make their sons study music. When we talk about tango, we also say it's probably the most elaborated and complex and sophisticated cultural product that has born in Argentina. But that didn't happen overnight. There was many musicians that contributed to it to develop into this amazing art. So I'd like to show you just a couple of bits, especially this one from the late 1920s, in which you'll hear something that is much more complex than the two recordings of bits of records that we just heard. This is a Julio Delgado sextet from the late 20s, and this is the beginning of a new era for tango music. This is a time in which the sons and daughters of the immigrants already had more access to culture, had more access to study, and here we hear musicians that are very well trained. You can tell by the way the music is written. In the other two pieces of music we heard, the music was pretty simple with just one steady groove and very simple voicing, the way of writing the harmonies and so on. So here in this 1928, we really hear much more complexity in the writing and of course in the playing. So this is a tango called Boil by the Julio Delgado Sextet, recorded in the late 1920s. There's no one groove. It changes the rhythm every couple of bars. We have piano solos, we have the violins. Now we're going to hear bandoneon solos as well. Appreciate, which I believe is probably the most important contribution of tango music to the universal world of music. Because as we like to say in music here, we have four main elements. We have the rhythm, we have the melody, we have the harmony, and we have the texture or tone color, I don't know how you call it in English. Rhythm, of course, is the way you divide, right? The rhythm itself is how you separate different values. The melody is whatever melody we can sing. The harmony is those notes that serve as a background for the melody we're playing, and the texture or tone color, I'm not sure how you call it in English, is a particular way in which each instrument sounds. Okay, like you can picture in your mind, you can imagine the same melody played by a violin sounds very different from the same melody played on a piano or trumpet, and so each instrument has a very particular tone color and its own texture. Okay, by combining the different instruments, we get a different sound, right? Like if you have a symphony orchestra with strings and brass and woods, depending on how you write it, you get very different colors in the music. And if you only have accordions and pianos, it will sound very different. Okay, well, in tango music, we have a very particular texture, which is the combination of piano with strings and bandoneons. That mixing in the sound, the mix of strings, piano, and bandoneon, doesn't exist in any other music. It's really particular and it's really beautiful. In these sextets from the mid-20s and so on, that sound is defined. And that's what a few years later will turn into the orquesta típica, the typical orchestra, which is a bigger version of those sextets. Those sextets included 2 bandoneons, 2 violins, piano, and double bass. And orquesta típicas have probably 4 bandoneons or 5, 4 violins or more, maybe violoncello, and piano and bass, of course. In order to give you a better appreciation of that particular texture, I'm just going to play a few bars of a beautiful piece from the late 40s by Alfredo Gobi's orchestra called El Andariego, where you can really pay attention to that mix of the sound, the strings, the piano, and the bandoneons. Were you able to listen to the different instruments? And also, as you can appreciate, it's a very rhythmical, very danceable music. And what makes it really interesting for musicians is that this is a danceable music that doesn't have a drum set, which is also a very particular thing about tango music. It's danceable music without a drum set. So that makes all the musicians play in a very percussive way sooner or later, because in many ways, especially the bass and the piano, are replacing that drum set that is missing. But again, my point was, the combination of strings, piano, and bandoneons creates a unique sound that belongs exclusively to this music. By the way, we're going to keep enjoying and also listening and watching the dancers, right? Okay.
This tune is called Danzarin, and it's from a guy called Julian Plaza. It's kind of a bit more modern.
When we decided how to divide this talk, so it will be interesting to end the participation talking about how Argentinians, after creating and embracing this amazing music and dance, tango, ended up in many ways denying our own culture for a long time. Though, after those early days, tango ended up becoming like a huge thing in Buenos Aires, especially in those 40s and 50s decades, in which turned out to be like the most successful, most commercial as well music that was played all over the country, especially, of course, in Buenos Aires, being the biggest urban center of a very, centralized country. In that time, when we talk about the 40s, big orchestras were playing like every day, everywhere. Not in the little, not in the brothels anymore, really. Not in little small cafes anymore, but they were playing in bigger bars all around downtown. They were playing in the dance houses at night. They were playing at the radio, and especially, since tango was so popular and people loved to dance to it. Talking again 40s and beginning of the 50s, what we call the golden era of tango, if you wish. Tango orchestras and people will gather together in the neighborhood club and bring their favorite orchestras to dance there. It was a very social. There was a very social element into tango, which in many ways reminds us that beyond the art form that we love, there's also a lot of importance of it, talking about how it brought people together and how it reflected their histories in many ways. But as in jazz music and other genres as well, after those glory days and the golden era, if you want to call it, the jobs, for musicians and big orchestras started to scarce, and we can name several reasons, several reasons why that happened. And we have to understand that after the war, we always talk about the repopulation, world repopulation. Years after that, created a new market, which was the young people's market. Before that, that actually didn't exist before the war. So after repopulation, we had this new market, and record companies started to take over that market by creating new products and crossing their own countries to bring those new products into other countries like in Latin America, right? So it's really interesting to see, how that genre that was so popular, in our case, tango music, in the 40s and beginning of the 50s, actually kind of started to disappear, in the late 50s. And that's due to many reasons. Again, one had to do that tango has become so commercial that the music produced and the lyrics, the poetry produced in the mid-50s, it wasn't tango at its best. And it was so commercial that when we compare, those lyrics and that music to the earlier tango in the 40s, that's obviously tango of less quality. And at the same time, these record companies, as RCA Victor, or what later will become EMI, they sent some of their executives down to Latin America to intervene in the companies and basically throw most of the folkloric music to the trash. As dramatic as it sounds, that's exactly what happened. In the mid-50s, especially in the 60s, most record companies in Argentina were told by their mother companies in the States or around the world to get rid of the folkloric rhythms, mainly tango and Argentinian folk in our case. So if you ask those companies today, they don't even have most of their tango artists cataloged anymore because they destroyed back then. And at the same time, they created very powerful slogans that said that tango was an old thing, was a very, very sad thing, that belonged to the past, that belonged to old people. So, and when we think that the tango answer to that was very commercial, bad quality tango, it was a very terrible mix because unlike jazz music that decide, like in jazz music, I said, when the big bands disappeared, they basically turned that music into a more kind of cult art form, and those jazz musicians started playing smaller combos in small clubs and went to Europe and started to create this whole new mystic about that music and created a new movement. The tango people down there decided to like kind of defend the music they love by keeping the most commercial stuff and less quality stuff, lower quality stuff in front of everyone. So that didn't work really well, and it took us many years to start appreciating the tango music again in Buenos Aires. Basically, when you talk with people down there, especially tango musicians, they can tell you that in the 70s and the 80s was almost no tango available other than a few places for tourism or small bars. A music that once, a few decades earlier, was the most popular around the city. And nowadays, unfortunately, that has been changing a little bit. Tango music, and especially the tango dance, have in many ways conquered new fans all around the world. We have to thank tango dancers for this because tango is well danced all around the globe nowadays, thanks to all these dancers that travel and travel and travel. They keep traveling. They're like missionaries that go to every single little town and show our music and show the steps and keep engaging new audiences to this. But even when the tango is appreciated and valued all over the world, you might be surprised to learn that in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, it's still, down-looked? You say that? It's like they look down to tango music. There's a lot of people that still think it's not very good quality music or dance, and I think that has to do again with identity issues, because in many ways, as we discussed earlier, tango is the best, one of the best mirrors which we can see ourselves as Argentinians in order to understand better who we are, where we come from, and what to do with that. I think that's a pity that we don't realize how amazing this art form is as a country, because that will bring us closer to address the identity issue. And the better you know who you are, the better chances you have of doing something positive with it. Many times we argue with foreign people that, say, why do Argentinians complain so much? It's quite a good country, and when you compare it to other countries that are more poor or have less resources, it's not that bad. And my answer to that is that when you compare Argentina to more poor countries with less resources, many times the difference will be that we still can't address the identity issue. And in a way, that's why we don't care so much for tango music, because it reminds us all the time who we are, where we come from. So I think the best way to move forward in that direction is to create better awareness about the music, about the dance, about the beautiful poetry that is within tango. And in order to do that, we have to keep playing and dancing and move on and creating projects like the Tango Digital Archive, for instance, that will take care of this huge heritage, or the Tango School Orchestra, which will bring together old guys and young guys, to learn, to keep learning the music, to pass the torch, the secrets of how to play the music, how to understand it. Because if we create awareness and appreciation, we will realize as Argentinians that tango is beloved around the world because it has a great quality, and it's one of the most unique things we have to share with the world. So because of that, I really appreciate this invitation, and thank you all for coming on Sunday morning. We're going to say goodbye and keep enjoying the dancing and the music, and hopefully you'll join the dancers at the end too, for a small little private milonga here, right? Thank you very much. Have a good day.
enjoyed that. I learned some things today. It's good to hear Ignacio, very curious about to say about the history. And now we're going to try to get basically wake up with actually someone, so get the blood running a little. Those who are interested, we're going to do a bit of an introduction in tango class, very short, hopefully have a bit of fun. And then we can go on and enjoy the sun. There is another. But so, anyone interested, join us on the floor.
Definitely going to need to stand up.
Yeah.
First point.
There are some experienced dancers here in front of them. And okay, just very quickly, just give you a little bit about the dance code. I really appreciate what Ignacio said about our work as dancers, how we spread it around, how tango started as a dance form.
Can I just make a very short announcement, which is that the event's being recorded and we would love to have it on the website, and if anybody has any problem or any fear of embarrassment being on there, then you may not wish to join the drawing.
So it was great to hear that.
Let's not feel really comfortable.
No, but it's true. It's a dance that kind of developed continuously in a way. And the most important thing is that it's a social dance. It's street dance, whatever you want to call it. It's a social dance that is always improvised. We're working today with the musicians. We never danced together before, but we just improvise, listening to the music and improvising. So we're reading the movements as we go along with the dance. That to improvise, what we need to know, we need to have some fundamentals about proposing, leading, and following, completing the movement. It's a question of energy, it's a question of technique. And I also develop a lot from the idea. We're not going to do a lecture about the tango, but we develop a lot in terms of the dance form as well, in every sense. So what we're going to give you now is just a very basic step, basic 8, which is recognized everywhere. It's like a frame, a basic frame that we can use to start, for improvising, improvising, interpreting in the way the music as you can hear. Okay? So let's start with the, from that side, the voice on this side. Voice behind me, guitarra. What a surprise, but never happened first time. Walk forwards a little. So let's start. Stay feet, our music is a phrase, the phrase is 2x4 of the rhythm, the compass, 2x4, 4, 8 beats for every phrase, but we're going to let the feeling with this basic step. So let's start quickly in terms of we can have this exercise position for the guys, try to put the shoulders back and drop the back over the chest, the rest of the body relax and lift the arms. Same for the guys for the other side. Try to feel that the arms are not muscular, lifting weight, it's just keeping this shape. Keep the shape, don't lift the muscles, okay? And we're going to start projecting a movement. First for us is backwards, for the guys is like forwards.
We're going to be mirroring everything they do. Much me, but ideally we're going to be mirroring what.
So as we transfer away, we hold the foot on the floor, then collect a little bit of foot or something, project the left through the left, now step, collect, and now we're going to start thinking a bit about the way how we try to maintain the very important thing like the embrace, el abrazo, in a way that my intention is going towards my partner, the hips are going forwards, for the guest the hips are going back, but my intention is going with my partner. So we're dividing the body, upper body, lower body, disassociating the upper body towards the partner. We step, so you step, next one is projecting the right, notice that my chest is almost going that way, the hips lift forwards, and as we get in front of, as we transfer the foot, the right to the left, we put the body together again as we go, as inviting the guest to cross.
Those who are watching my feet, yeah? And then last step, instead of coming to the side of the foot as you would normally, yeah? I cross this foot in front of the other, like a single place, yeah? My weight is now on the foot across, very important. So stay your weight on the back foot. As you come back, take a step, and it's the back foot that's free.
right, the weight is on the right, okay. Now it's number 6, pushing, 7 to the side, 8 close to the let's do it again. 1, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Let's do one last time. The guests at the back mind the people sitting. One last time. 1, 2. Attention with one of the guests in front of you. 3, 4. Body together as a block in front of the partners. 6, 7, 8. And now let's go back, keeping the embrace, keeping everything. So we go 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Normally in a tango class, the man that speaks. So when he said, let's walk back, we walk back.
Okay, listen to the music, guys. I do the counting. 6, 7, 8. Fine.